This conference will now be recorded.
So we are discussing about DNS. What are the problems before DNS? How those problems are resolved in DNS? The first problem is name uniqueness problem. How this name uniqueness problem is resolved in DNS? By creation of domains in the network. By creation of domains in the network. What is the meaning of domain? A domain is a group of computers. A domain is a group of computers. Now the second problem is host file maintenance problem. What is this host file maintenance problem? Whenever a system is added in the network, whenever a system is added in the network, we have to add the IP address host name every system in the network. Add the IP address host name every system in the network. It is possible only for a small network, not possible for a large network. That is called host maintenance problem. This problem is resolved in DNS. Further, you need to understand DNS hierarchy. Just wait. So, this is called DNS hierarchy. To understand the second problem, host file maintenance problem, how this host file maintenance problem resolved in DNS, understand DNS hierarchy. So there is a root zone, either slash or dot. Slash or dot indicates root zone. Slash or dot indicates root zone. Under root zone, we have a root service. We have a top level domain. All these are top level domains. Below top level, secondary level. Below secondary level, lower level domains. Below secondary, lower level. Yahoo, Sun, Red Hat, IBM, Wipro, TCS, all these are top level. Sorry, secondary level. Below secondary level, mail, chart, docs, all these are secondary level. Under root service, there are totally 13 root service. As of now, totally 13 root service. What are those? A dot root dot servers dot net, B dot root dot servers dot net, till M dot root dot servers dot net. So we have 13 root service. All these are 13 root servers under root zone. Who are maintaining these 13 root servers? An organization called INA, Internet Address Numbering Authority. Internet Address Numbering Authority. And top level domains are maintained by NIC. NIC stands Network Information Center. NIC stands Network Information Center. So there are 13 root servers. Why there are 13 root servers? Because of 13 top level domains. Here I didn't write all the 13 top level domains, but there are totally 13 top level domains. Each top level domain is maintained by one root server. Tomorrow you want to add one more top level domain. Before that, add one root server, then add the top level domain. These top level domains are further split into two types: organizational domains and geographical domains. Organizational and geographical. What is organizational? These are based on the purpose and function of the domain. Organizational domains are based on the purpose and function of the domain. Meaning what? All the commercial organizations, they should register their domains under .com. .com for commercial. Facebook, Gmail, Yahoo, all these are commercial. Networking organizations, ISP providers should register their domains under .NET, Sachem.net, Airtel.net, Tata.net, BSNL.net, all this comes under networking. Organizational, non-profitable, DNS.org, Samba.org, Tomcat.org, all these are non-profitable. Register their domains under .org. Educational, all educational institutions should register their domains under .edu. GOE for government, MIL for military, in-addr.arpa. IN stands internet, ADDR stands address, ARPA stands advanced or American Research Project Agency. Advanced or American Research Project Agency. What is the purpose of this in-addr.arpa? It's a mechanism which converts IP address to host name. It's a mechanism which converts IP address to host name. Yesterday we discussed that before DNS, if any system want to communicate the other system, the remote system before DNS, add that IP address host names every system /etc/host file. What is similar to this in mobile? Our local contacts. We have to add every contact name and mobile number in your local contacts. But tomorrow, someone unknown person is calling you, it won't give the number. It will check the local contacts. If not available in local contacts, it won't give the name. It just give the number, unknown number. So for that, what we are going to do, install the Truecaller. What is Truecaller? Truecaller, nothing but your DNS server. Truecaller, nothing but DNS server. So if unknown persons are repeatedly calling you, you just install the to find out the name, install the Truecaller that give the name. That is called number to name. That is called IP address to host name. What is that domain? The top level domain in-addr.arpa. You have the IP address, you want to find out the domain name, we can find out with the help of this top level domain. The Truecaller is nothing but your DNS server. I can't add all my all this all the sorry all users mobile numbers their contacts my local contacts. You just install the Truecaller. If anyone is calling you other than which is not in the local contacts that give the name. The Truecaller is nothing but your DNS server. So this is called IP address to host name. All these are organizational domains. Geographical domains are based on the physical location, like .in India, .sg Singapore, .us, .uk, .pak. All this comes under geographical domain based on the physical location. So any questions? Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You purchase a laptop, install operating system Windows is already installed, and you want to connect to the internet. What you have to do? You have to contact any ISP provider. If you contact any ISP provider, you have to pay the amount 600, 700,000, whatever the charges based on the bandwidth. What they're going to provide you. ISP provider maintain one DNS server. Every ISP provider they maintain their own DNS server. What they're going to provide you. When they're charging 1,000 rupees, for example, the 1,000 rupees for what purpose they're charging? Cost. They're not going to charge for installation. Router is free of cost. Wi-Fi router is free of cost. They're not going to charge for the router. Then what purpose they're charging 1,000 rupees? That is called public IP. If at all you want access internet, we need a public IP. Who is going to provide the public IP? Your ISP provider. So you want to configure a laptop to the internet. What information are required? I need a before that in the DNS server. In the DNS server, we discussed earlier yesterday class forward zone file and reverse zone file. So ISP provider configure one DNS server with zone files forward and reverse zone. So you want to connect to the DNS, you want to connect to the internet through this DNS server, we need public IP address, then DNS IP address, then subnet mask, then gateway. What is gateway? Your Wi-Fi router, IP address of Wi-Fi router. So you want to connect your laptop to the internet, we need this information. Who is going to provide you? Your ISP provider. Now I have a laptop. I install Windows or Linux, whatever it may be. So let us say for example, it's a Linux. So I configure Linux to the internet, all this information. How do we configure this public IP, DNS IP, subnet gateway in Linux? Only one command. You don't need to worry about which files to update, what files to create, what files to update. No need to worry about that. You just run one command, that is nmtui we discussed earlier. User friendly. It asks for the IP address, that is called public IP. It asks for the DNS IP address, gateway IP address. Provide all the details, then service network restart. Service network restart. You'll be able to connect to the internet. Same like Windows, user friendly. Assume that my laptop is a Linux client. So when I type www.yahoo.com or gmail.com, what we discussed last class, it first refers ns switch.conf file. It first refers ns switch.conf file. For what purpose? Do you have that yahoo.com, gmail.com local host file? But we don't have that information local host file because already DNS is configured. So if not found local host file, then what name server to contact? That is called DNS. Which server to contact? Saying that contact the DNS server. If not found local host file, contact DNS server. But where the DNS server, refer the file result.conf. In this result.conf file, there's a name server nothing but DNS server, the DNS server IP address. So this is the IP address of the DNS server. With that IP, send the gmail.com to the DNS server requesting for IP address. It is requesting for DNS or IP address for gmail.com, the DNS server. Now you tell from where we get this information. A request DNS server, please give me the IP address of yahoo.com. From where we get this information? Venkat?
No idea.
Yesterday we discussed it. Every information we add in the forward zone file. What forward zone file contains host names and IP address. It refers forward zone file, the host name resolved into IP. But if that is the case, is it possible to add all internet domain names in my DNS server? Is it possible to add all the domains information throughout the internet, throughout the world? Is it possible to add my DNS server? 10 years back, nearly 100 crores of domains. Now it may be added more 100 crores, 200 crores of domains on internet. Is it possible to add 200 crores of domains in my DNS server? Not at all possible. Every day, lakhs of domains they're adding throughout the internet. I want to develop a website. We'll go to Godaddy, purchase one domain. But who knows that the person purchased the domain name? I can't add the domain name here. So we can't able to know that what the domain they're purchasing throughout the internet. It is not possible to add all my domains information in my DNS server. So that means what? There is no yahoo.com, no gmail.com, no hotmail.com in my local DNS. No public domain. If the information not found in local DNS server, the DNS server forward the query to the root server. First refers forward zone file. If not found, then refer root server. You're working for a company, let us say for example IBM. You're the employee of IBM from the company. You type IBM.com. IBM maintains their own DNS server. IBM maintains their own DNS server. It refers forward zone file IBM.com resolved into IP address. When you open the browser and type IBM.com, what output will get? You'll get the web page from IBM.com, right? Where this web page is hosted, not in the DNS server, in the web server. But I don't know IBM.com IP address. I can't remember that. What I'm going to type only IBM.com. It goes to DNS server maintained by the IBM. IBM maintains all the service information in their DNS server in their forward zone file. It refers forward zone file the IBM.com resolved into IP address. With that IP, connect to the web server, collect the web page. But the same user from the IBM, they type wipro.com. It goes to this DNS server. Why IBM maintain Wipro information? IBM maintain only their service information. It goes to DNS server forward zone file. Do you have wipro.com information here? No. When the information not found in this DNS server, directly forward to the root server. Root server knows that a.root.servers.net. This knows this root server maintaining .com. All the .com information. The query is what? .com, wipro.com. It from root server it goes to .com. Under .com we have IBM or Wipro. So Wipro they maintain their own DNS server. They maintain their own web server. It goes to DNS server of Wipro. Take the IP address of web server. With that IP, connect to the Wipro web server. Collect the home page. So what I mean to say, in the earlier days when there was no DNS, if any system is added, we used to add the IP address host names every system in the network. How this problem is resolved? Because of DNS server. If any domain is added on internet, I'm not going to add all the domains in my DNS server. I'm going to add only my company information, my company service. At least bother about other servers information. If any user querying other than my information, I'll directly forward to the root server. The root service maintains the whole internet information. The second problem, host file maintenance problem, is resolved because of root servers. The third problem, server network load. What is the server network load? When I type I'm in IBM company and I type wipro.com, it goes to DNS server. It goes to DNS server. There is no Wipro information. Then forward to the root server. Where these root servers are in US. Every time going to US coming back, it's a network traffic. It's a network traffic. How to reduce that? How to resolve this problem? In the DNS server, they're going to configure cache DNS. What is cache DNS? It's a buffer. Cache DNS is a buffer which maintains information from the root server. When you connect to the internet and you type gmail.com, facebook.com, yahoo.com, it first refer cache DNS, not the DNS server. It first refer cache DNS. The same user or any other user already queried gmail.com with that information in the buffer itself. So we can directly collect that information from the cache buffer, not from the DNS or directly from the buffer. If no one is queried, it is not in the buffer, then go to DNS. First time it goes to DNS, collect that information from the root server and store that in the buffer. What is the advantage of cache DNS? The repeated queries will get from local cache DNS, not from root server. We can reduce network traffic. All these three problems are resolved in DNS. Any questions? The types of DNS are primary DNS, secondary DNS, forwarders DNS, cache DNS, IP-based DNS, name-based DNS, port-based DNS, and round-robin DNS. Are the types of DNS server. So we are going to discuss only primary, remaining not required because of in AWS, remaining all we'll discuss in AWS. So assume that this is my primary DNS and this is my secondary DNS. Why do you need to go for secondary? If no secondary, you have only one primary, only primary, no secondary. The primary DNS server should be always keep on up and running. If primary is down, no one can access internet. We need a backup. We need a backup for this. This backup we call as a secondary DNS. So we require one primary, at least one secondary, minimum one secondary. So what are the files we need to configure in the primary DNS? The files to configure primary DNS is /etc slash named dot /etc slash named dot rfc 1912 dot jones /etc slash result.conf under var name directory configure zone files. Those are forward zone, the other one is reverse zone. These files should be configured in the primary DNS. And one more file /etc slash nsswitch.conf. This file by default no need to configure, just understand the importance of nsswitch.conf. We already discussed about that file. These files are required to configure primary DNS. Here also required same files. When same files if I configure secondary, it is cannot be called secondary, also called primary, but primary cannot be more than one. Primary cannot be more than one. Then why it is called secondary? Do not configure zone files manually in the secondary. Zone file should be configured only in the primary. If I configure zone files in the secondary, it also called primary. It also called primary, but primary cannot be more than one. That's why don't configure zone files. After creating these files, configure these files, we just restart the service. At the secondary, restart the service. For the command service named restart. If I restart the named service, by default this directory is empty, nothing is there. Once I restart the service, the secondary will contact the primary. Whatever zone files we have in the primary, collect the zone files from the primary and copy to the /var/named to the secondary. The zone files are automatically transferred from primary to secondary or master to slave. Primary also called master, secondary also called the slave. The zone files are automatically transferred from master to slave once I restart the service. By default, it won't be there in the secondary. Those files are transferred automatically to the secondary. Once the zone files are transferred from master to slave, then we call this a secondary DNS. Act as a master when the master is down. When we have a secondary can be any number, no limit. You can have a number of secondary, but primary always one. Primary cannot be more than one. So when we have primary and secondary in the network, at the client, either Windows or Linux, at the client side, DNS client, we discussed the file last class. The file is /etc/result.conf. Under result.conf file, name server, the primary DNS IP. Let us say 202.141.21.4. This is the primary DNS IP address, public IP. If not found primary DNS, add another name server 202.141.21.5, which is the secondary DNS. If not found, contact another secondary. If not found, contact another secondary. The order should be always first primary. If primary is not found, contact the secondary. You can add n number of secondaries here. That is the concept of primary and secondary. Is it clear? So tomorrow we'll see
Yes, sir.
practical.
One second, sir. Take the photo.
I'm sorry. So no class tomorrow. Next class on Friday. So Friday we'll discuss DNS practical.
Okay, sir.
Tomorrow you have a class at AWS 7 to 2 hours. Sir told that he's going to take 2 hours class.
Okay.
Tomorrow 7 to 9.
Tomorrow, 7 to 9.
Hmm. Not my class. Ajay sir class.
Not my class. I just okay.
Okay.
Line admin enroll పడుతుంది సార్ Hello, sir. Can me hear me?
ఇప్పుడు 20 మెంబర్స్ వచ్చారు కదా. 10 కట్టేసారా? నేను చెప్పాను రేపు కల్లా పే చేస్తే ఎజెండా వాట్సాప్ క్రియేట్ చేసి నోట్స్ షేర్ చేస్తాను. తీసుకుంటాను మండే ఎక్కడ క్రియేట్ చేసి లేదా కన్ఫ్యూజ్ అయిపోతాను. ఏది డౌన్లోడ్ చేశాను. అవును, ఎవరు జాయిన్ అయ్యి చెప్పండి. అదే ఉన్నాయి ఇక్కడ నుంచి. నాకు ఎవరో అది అది కాదు నాకు నాకు ఎవడో ఇంకేంటి ఏడబ్ల్యూ రికార్డింగ్స్ నేను ఎక్కడ రికార్డ్ చేస్తున్నాను మీ దగ్గర. అవును, ఏడబ్ల్యూ జాయిన్ అవుతాను. అవును, జాయిన్ అయి అవును కరెక్టే. అప్పుడు మన వాట్సాప్ గ్రూప్ క్రియేట్ చేస్తాం కదా, దాంట్లో షేర్ చేస్తాను. ఆ, లేదు లేదు లేదు. డబ్బులు పే చేయకుండా 100 క్వశ్చన్లు వేస్తాడు అదో. డబ్బులు పే చేస్తే మరి ఏడబ్ల్యూఎస్ క్లాసులు స్టార్ట్ చేస్తాను. నా గ్రూప్ నా- నాకు గ్రూప్ క్రియేట్ చేయండి. గ్రూప్ క్రియేట్ చేయకుండా మీరు రికార్డ్ పెట్టాలి. ఇప్పుడు లైనస్ బేసిక్స్ అన్నట్లకి నా లింక్ కాదు కదా, మీ లింకే కదా, రికార్డింగ్ మీ దగ్గర ఉంటాయి. మరి నా నాకు వాట్సాప్ గ్రూప్ క్రియేట్ చేసి అన్ని దాంట్లో పడేస్తాను. లేదు, ఏ కమ్యూనిటీ గ్రూప్ ఏ గ్రూప్ క్రియేట్ చేయండి, సరే ఏదో క్రియేట్ చేయండి, మీకు షేర్ చేస్తాను. ఏడబ్ల్యూఎస్ యాడ్ చేయడం కష్టం. యాడ్ చేసి నేను ఇందాక ఇప్పుడు ఇందాక మధ్యాహ్నం దగ్గర చోట్ల మాట్లాడితే అదే సార్ మీకు 30 మెంబర్స్ అలా వచ్చారు సార్, నాకు ఒకటే జాయిన్ అది కాదు. ఇప్పుడు ఈడబ్ల్యూఎస్ 5,000 అంతా పెట్టాడు, తీసుకోవాలి ఓన్లీ వీకెండ్ బ్యాచ్. మీకు వాట్సాప్ లో పెట్టే కదా డేట్, అదే డేట్కి అదే టైంకి మీరు కూడా మార్కెట్ చేయండి, వీకెండ్ బ్యాచ్ ఓన్లీ వీకెండ్ బ్యాచ్. చూద్దాం వాళ్ళు ఎలా స్టార్ట్ చేస్తే నేను చెప్పాను. ఎవ- ఎవరైనా ఏడబ్ల్యూఎస్ 6,000 పే చేస్తే దాన్ని ఫ్రీ అని చెప్పాను. ఏదో అర్థం చేసుకున్నారు. దానికి సీక్వెన్స్ వెళ్ళాలి. ఫస్ట్ సర్వీస్ EC2 ఇన్స్టెన్స్, లేదు ఈబీఎస్ వాళ్ళ నుంచి చెప్పాలంటే దీనికి అటాచ్ ఉంటుంది. ఏది చెప్పాలన్నా EC2కి అటాచ్ ఉంటుంది. EC2 తెలిస్తే ఏదైనా స్టార్ట్ చేయొచ్చు. ప్రతిదీ EC2 చెప్తారు. ఎవడో అడిగాడు, నేను డెవలప్స్ కూడా కావాలంటే డేటాలో చదువుకుంటా వాళ్ళు చేశారు. యూరోలో నిజంగా బీచ్ కదా. ఇల్లు ఇల్లు బీచ్ అంటే చెప్పండి, ఒక బ్యాచ్ స్టార్ట్ చేసి దాని మీద క్లబ్ చేస్తాం. ఎందుకు వెలికి అదే చెప్పాలి, వాళ్ళకి అదే చెప్పాలి, ఇద్దరు క్లబ్ చేస్తామంటే ఇంకో బ్యాచ్ ఉంది కదా. ఆ, ఏమన్నా ఆ అమ్మాయి వస్తుంది కదా ఫస్ట్. అర్థమవుతుందంటే అర్థమవుతుందండి. 3:30కి వస్తుంది. మార్నింగే కావాలండి. ఆ, ఆ. నేను ఒక యూట్యూబ్ అకౌంట్ క్రియేట్ చేసి నా వీడియోస్ దాంట్లో అప్లోడ్ చేసి ఇచ్చేస్తున్నాను. అది అంటే అట్లీస్ట్ గీసుకెళ్తే మనకి అన్న ఈసారి మీరు నాకు లిస్ట్ ఇవ్వమంటే లిస్ట్ ఇవ్వట్లేదు మీరు. ఇప్పుడు దాకా ఇప్పుడు దాకా ఇప్పుడు దాకా ఐడియా ఇవ్వండి, నాకు నాకు అది తెలుసు.